Look. I'm too cool for the rules, baby, get off of me. Never need no push, I do it all for me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be. Too true for the flex, baby, don't cap to me. Drop 50, bring 150 right back to me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be. Look, Papa don't preach, teachers don't teach. Gon' reach, that's facts. I ain't worried about none of that. I'm making that cash stack. Bunch of O's like NASCAR, but it's really more like NASDAQ. Why they thinking that they hot when they really more like quarter on me like a referee? Hating what they'll never be. Small top with a big bottom, yeah, shorter shape like a letter D. Let her have it, then I let her be. If you love it, gotta let it grow. Crazy cause you really never know. When I'm hurting, never let it show. I'm a two-tone, two-phone, two-chain, new thing, lane whipper, you a broke. Low class, no cash, certified lame. I've been getting to it like I ought to. Couldn't pick, so I bought two. Understand why your chick came, I'm just trying to figure why she brought you. I'm really reppin' and I'm flexed up, and I ain't gotta tell him I'm next up. Sleep on the they rest up, but I'm up and I'm getting my checks up. Me and the fellas be high as propellers, ain't could tell us we great. Looking at like how do you figure unless you been talk about 8 figures. I'm too cool for the rules, baby, get off of me. Never need no push, I do it all for me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be. Too true for the flex, baby, don't cap to me. Drop 50, bring 150 right back to me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be. Look how we litty, we turned up the city, we raising the bar height. I been finessing, just look at them stressing, yeah, they been up all night. Sipping this water with somebody's daughter, she take what I taught her and build on it. Came in this game on that today, ain't in a couple years later, we still on it. Be hating on it, be waiting on it like a new season. I bet an acre on it, I put some paper on it like I'm loose leafing. Buying them assets, build me a cash net I could fall in. Look at my last bet, ain't got a tiptoe, I'm all in. Think on a level that can't fail, and I roll me a J with the hate mail. Been doing good on the merch sale, all this bread on me look like a bake sale. Tell her your what's really good, I be really good on a jaw jack. Send an email about the bread, I'ma hit you back with the call back. I'm too cool for the rules, baby, get off of me. Never need no push, I do it all for me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be. Too true for the flex, baby, don't cap to me. Drop 50, bring 150 right back to me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be.
Come on in, come on in. Happy Monday night. Happy Monday night to everybody. Hope everybody is doing good. Make sure y'all hit that like button as you come on in. Make sure you hit that like button as you come on in. Let me know where you guys are checking in from. Let me know where you guys are checking in from. In one word, also let me know how you guys are feeling this evening. Hope everybody is feeling good. So let me know where you're checking in from. And in one word, let me know how you guys are feeling. We're gonna cover a few things tonight. Let me sit up in my chair. Let me sit up in my chair a little bit. Let me sit up in my chair now a little bit. All right, let's get the formalities out the way. Real quick. All right. So while y'all doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and pay some bills around this thing. Let's pay some bills really quick around this thing. All right, shout out to the sponsor of tonight's live stream. All right. Are you a small business owner in need of capital to take your business to the next level? Look no further than Rock Financial, your trusted partner in business financing. I recently had the opportunity to speak with the team at Rock Financial, and I was blown away by their dedication to helping small businesses thrive. They understand the unique challenges that entrepreneurs face, and they've tailored their services to provide flexible financing solutions that work for you. With Rock Financial, you can access a wide range of funding options, including business loans, lines of credit, equipment financing, and even merchant cash advances. They work with businesses of all sizes and all industries. So whether you're just starting out or looking to expand your box truck business, Rock Financial has a solution for you. So whether you need capital to grow your business, purchase equipment, or simply manage cash flow, Rock Financial is here to support you every step of the way. Visit their website. I got the link in the description below today to learn more and start your journey towards financial success. Thank you again to our sponsor for tonight's show, Rock Financial, for making this show possible. And to all my listeners, all my subscribers, everybody in the MGM, all my Mentor Gang members, your dreams and business aspirations are within reach with the right partner, Rock Financial. Your success is their business. All right. So come on in. Shout out to Rock Financial. They will be here Thursday. They'll be here Thursday. So any questions that you have as far as products that they offer, lines of credit, term loans, equipment loans, so on and so forth, SBA loans, Thursday is the time to come in. Already had a bunch of people sign up. Make sure that you use the link in the description below so I can follow your loan. I can see when it's in prospecting. I can see what the terms are. I can see when it's been funded. So that way I can advise you. If you want me to advise you, I can look at the loan and I can advise you on it. That was part of the agreement that I had with them. So they set it up that I could do that. And they don't mind me, telling people what I think. So make sure you use my link so at least I can follow the loan. If you don't use my link, I won't be able to follow it, and you'll be out there in your own. All right. So Rock Financial will be here Thursday. So you guys come on back Thursday, and we're gonna spend some time with the owners. And you guys can ask them all the questions. They'll let you know what products they have, so on and so forth. All right, let's see who we got. Jordan in the building, Byron Gibson. We got Sacramento in the building. Project 704 Media, Charlotte in the building, Denver in the building, feeling great. Shout out to the moderators. I see all the moderators in the building. Shout out to Asma Rowland, West Coast in the building. It's D Walk in the building, so on and so forth. Today is September 11th, 2003. A very important day in this country's history. I would be bogus if I did not acknowledge September 11th. There may be some people in here that may probably weren't even born, in 2001. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe so. There may be some people in here that were too young to remember September 11th. But I know where I was at September 11th when the first plane hit. I was a junior in college, and it was a Tuesday, I believe, which was the day I didn't have any classes and was also the day I didn't have work. So I was at home watching the tube TV. Still had a tube TV in my bedroom. Flat screens weren't even, I think plasmas were out, but they were very, very, very expensive. We were poor. We couldn't afford it. So I had a tube TV, like a 19-inch tube TV. And I saw the first plane hit. And well, I saw the replay of the first plane hit, obviously, because no one was expecting the first plane to hit. But by the time the news crews got there and people were recording with their camcorders back then, they caught live footage of the second plane hit. So I witnessed the second plane hit live. I can remember the eerie feeling that went through my body. I didn't know what was going on. They kept saying America is under attack. That was the term that they were coining. So it was just a weird time, and that was one of those situations. I was 21 years old, and I lived through that moment. So it would only be it's only right that we just do a brief moment of silence for everybody that lost their life in 9/11. Shout out to all the firefighters that lost their life, the policemen, the people that were in those buildings. There was a daycare in one of those buildings. A lot of children lost their life. There were people that were jumping out of the building. I watched plenty of documentaries because I actually lived through that time. It was, videos of people jumping out the building to their death because, the fire was just so hot. So let's do a quick moment of silence. I see Axel in the building. He's a former, vet, which really doesn't have anything to do with it. But shout out to all the vets here too. So let's do a brief moment of silence for everybody that lost their life in 9/11. All right, so tonight, I want to talk about peak season, and this is something that everybody's been waiting for. All right, hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button. Now, I did this live stream a week ago in members only, and it was people that were very upset with me. Mark, I'm not an MGM. I heard, Mark, I'm not paying to be no MGM. I didn't ask you to pay to be an MGM. People that are MGMs are the people that just support the channel, who support the content, and that's their way of contributing to the channel because they support the content. I don't ask anybody for anything. All right. So, telling me what you're not going to do is fine, but I didn't ask nobody to do it in the first place. For the people who do support the channel that I don't ask them to do, it's only right that I give them some type of perks, right? Because a membership is like a donation to the channel. I don't ask for it. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate them. So therefore, I reward them with certain things that may not go public. People that follow my channel know I'm very calculated. They know I'm very calculated, and it's not that I was not going to do a live stream publicly, forecasting peak season. It's just I didn't want to do a live stream and talk about peak season first because people are waiting to see what I have to say. I wanted other people to go talk about peak season because I want to hear what they got to say. I already know how to forecast peak season. I already know how to read charts. I know how to do all that stuff. I want to see other people jump out the window so we can put them in the circle and hold them accountable, right? If they, start talking about peak season and they don't know what the hell they talking about or misleading people like a lot of people did last year. A lot of people did last year. And I'm going to always bring this up. Because it was me against everybody last year. All right? It was me against everybody. So I hate to say it, but we might have somebody we have to put in the circle tonight. And I don't really want to put this person in the circle because I like this person. But, and I'm not going to put this person in the circle. I'm going to show the person a little grace because I did a live stream last week and I talked about peace, but the August charts are out. I'm still leaning towards that way, but even the major analysts it's still kind of a toss up. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the facts. We're gonna go over all the facts up to this point. I'm gonna hold this content creator because I think this content creator is jumping. I think they're getting a little bit too excited, and I think they need to slow their roll a little bit. Slow your roll a little bit. We're not gonna put you in the circle, but we're gonna bring you up. We're gonna bring you to the front. We're gonna bring you to the circle, but we're not gonna do no violation today. But we're gonna put you in the circle. All right. So we're gonna do that tonight. Also, there was a live stream last night on Kirk's channel, where we addressed a lot of things that people wanted to be addressed. And I was going to put that live stream out tonight because Kirk asked me to put it up on my channel, I guess, to maybe reach a larger audience. And that was a conversation between me, Kirk, and Big Vic. And it was a conversation that a lot of people wanted to have. There's a lot of people that wanted clarity on certain things. And, I want to take a moment to, commend Big Vic for even coming in there, because he came in there knowing, not what I would say, not knowing what to expect. You know what I'm saying? But the link was dropped. He came up and we talked about some tough issues in this space that a lot of people want answers to. People wanted his insight on certain things that have occurred over the past few months. There was a live stream I did. There was also a live stream that happened a few weeks ago, and things were done that people disagree about, so on and so forth. But we had that conversation. It's not up on Kirk's channel. Like I said, he asked me to post it on my channel. The video is up. I was going to drop it tonight, but I think I'm going to wait till tomorrow. I'm going to show some excerpts out of that live stream tonight. But the full video will be up tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. So first thing, I gotta pull Chrissy to the front. Chrissy, you jumped the gun. Chrissy from the box truck couple. Somebody tag Chrissy from the box truck couple and tell her she gotta come stand in this circle. She gotta come stand in this circle because I think she jumping the gun on peak season, and people know how I am about peak season. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna look at this. We're gonna look at this short, and I'm not gonna debunk it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to present to you guys the facts. See, me, I'm not going to jump out the window. I'm not going to tell you to book no sessions, no coaching strategies, because you may be booking a coaching strategy for something that may not even come around. So let's do this real quick. Chris, I'm sorry, but you know how I am. But first, before we do that, let me show y'all something. I'm going to show y'all something from last night. See, Big Vic, he's smart. Vic is smart. Let me show y'all something. Let me show y'all something from last night. Cause Kirk tried to set him up. But hold on, let me share my screen. Let's move that out the window. Let's set up this. All right, boom. Let's move this out the way too. Let's get this out the way. All right, so boom. Let's play this. With it. Kurt, it's on you, bro. He said what he had to say. That's on him. I don't have no issues. One guy that's up and coming. Hold on. Let me find it. It's right here.
Make your videos, you drop your
Drop what? Drop what, man? What you talking about now, Kurt?
You drop your sub message in it.
I don't be listen. I already told y'all I'm not talking about Mark. You talk about the Kurt because I mentioned something about final mile.
So
listen, I'm just letting folks know, like, hey, look, you already know it's gonna be hard trying to roll with Amazon when you get started.
Is there going to be a peak season this year?
Gotta look into other.
Uh-oh,
Is
here
there
go the
gonna be a
question.
peak season? I better not answer that because now then Mark gonna go make a video talking about now we just had Big Vic on the live and he said there's gonna be a peak season. Now let's go ahead and see what peak season gonna do. I ain't falling for that. I ain't falling into y'all little trap right now.
Man. Oh, so there's no
Mark
peak
waiting for
season.
me. Mark said, "Man, waiting for me to say something about peak season right now." He like, "Go ahead, let's see what
I'm
he say about
waiting.
peak season."
That's why I ain't talked about it. I'm waiting to see what you gonna say. Sometimes, listen,
Oh man.
I like.
So that was Kirk tried to set him up. So then about, let me see, about 4 minutes later, we came back around to it.
I'll do a live every
Hold on.
Hey, Cody ain't.
I know, but
I'll be busy, man.
You used to
So-
do Saturday night.
About peak season on that.
Hold on. Here was the second part.
You know, if it does, and I was gonna. It was a video I saw that I was gonna. Peaks. I can't tell you nothing about peak season.
But we still want to know about peak season because the months are running down.
Peaks. I can't tell you nothing about peak season until it get here, bro.
Not this year. Not this year.
Huh? Not this year. Not this year, bro.
Okay. All
Not
right.
this year. I mean,
Oh.
but I
So I wanted to show that because Vic is smart. Vic said, man, I ain't messing with Mark and peak season. So shout out to Vic. You know, he played it safe. But, man, Chrissy didn't play it safe. Chrissy did not play it safe. So let me bring this up. Because Vic knew I was waiting. See, Vic knows I'm calculated. I'm waiting. So hold on. Let me share my screen. Let's go with this one. And this is all in good fun, guys. It's healthy, healthy, educational. There's no malice in any of this. But it was a big thing about peak season last year. But hold on.
Time we have experience in both and we're glad to help. So click the link in
I'm
our
gonna start from the
bio
beginning.
and schedule some time at www.boxtruckcouple.com. See you guys later.
Let me start from the beginning, y'all.
What's up, y'all? Christy with the Box Truck Couple. Listen, a lot of people have been reaching out to me lately having consultations talking about peak season. It's September, you guys. It's almost peak season, and if you're not ready, you need to schedule some time with us. If you never run Amazon before, but you've been in business for over 6 months and you want to take advantage of peak, schedule some time. If you haven't been in business for 6 months yet, but you want to take advantage of peak during OTR, schedule some time. We have experience in both and we're glad to help. So click the link in our...
All right, so this is where I'm bringing her to the circle, but we're not going to put her in the circle. Vic was smart. He's not going to touch it because he knew I was waiting. So let's do this. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about peak season. She's pushing people to do consultations to give them strategy. But who's to say there's going to be a peak season? So giving them strategy on what? I think that's jumping the gun too soon without doing the proper research. So I'm going to show you guys a few things. But first of all, let's look at the facts. Here's the facts that we need to discuss prior to me showing you some things. One, consumer buying behavior has shifted. It's still down, right? Volume is down. Goods are down. Services are up. There's still overflow. There's still overflow from the pandemic. All right, just to go back down memory lane for the people who didn't follow the channel, which is one of the main things that I was talking about last year on why there wasn't going to be a peak season. And I'm going to give you guys a clue. So next time you're at your favorite big box retailer, I want you guys to do some homework. When the supply chain was disrupted, when the pandemic first hit, everything halted. Nothing moved, nothing stopped because we didn't know what this thing was. Everything, the world was shut down for about 2 weeks before things were deemed certain businesses were deemed essential. We had to wait for the rule book on what businesses could operate, what businesses couldn't operate, so on and so forth, right? Now, during that time period when things were halted, That stopped the supply chain. It was disrupted, right? Boom. People in China weren't working. There was, people here weren't working. The ports were understaffed, so on and so forth. Now, because of that, everybody ran to the store and they purchased everything. Remember, there was no toilet paper. People couldn't wipe their ass. There was no napkins, no paper towels, so on and so forth, right? When the supply chain started to get back rolling, mid 2020, end of 2020, early 2021, what did retailers do? They ordered way more than what they normally ordered in preparation for potential another shutdown, which did come in some states later on in the year. A lot of the blue states shut down, whereas a lot of the red states didn't, right? So they wanted to be prepared. They didn't want to have empty shelves like they did when the pandemic first hit, right? So they ordered a lot more stuff, all right? Now, this is something that I talk about on this channel all the time. When you're ordering things, especially things that are imports that are coming from overseas, whether it be via China, Indonesia, so on and so forth, they come by sea. All right, the turnaround time for something to come by sea is about 25 to 30 days. All right, so let's say a month, right? So when that stuff started to come and started to arrive in the States, by the time that stuff started to arrive, these stores were expecting to run through that stuff. But by the time the stuff arrived, consumer buying behavior had shifted. People weren't buying that stuff no more. Pretty much everybody had everything that they wanted. I still have Lysol and what are those little things you pull out and you wipe, the antibacterial Lysol wipes. When I went to the store, whenever they had it, I bought as many of them as I could. And so did many people. Hand sanitizer. I still got hand sanitizer that I bought back in 2020 and 2021. I was just buying as much of it as possible because back then you'd be lucky if you could find that stuff. If I did it, a lot of other people I know did it. A lot of people in this country did it. So not only did people have an overabundance of stuff when they were finding it, right? Another thing is consumer buying behavior. It shifted for a lot of things that were non-essential things, right? So where did all that stuff go? It went into warehouses. Let me further back down memory lane. Remember, Amazon was building a multitude of new fulfillment facilities. What did they do in 2020, 2021, 2022? They halted construction on a lot of fulfillment facilities because what? They have data. They knew that consumer buying behavior had shifted and was going to continue to shift. So there was no sense of continuing to build these million square foot facilities with a lot of FUD in the air. What is FUD, Mark? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. What did they turn some of those fulfillment centers that had already been built that were just left dormant, vacant, that they weren't going to put up and operational? They turned them into warehouse facilities. Why did they turn them into warehouse facilities? Because they had an overabundance of freight because people were ordering, retailers were ordering things so that they wouldn't go without, that their shelves wouldn't be empty, so that they would have a full stock in case of another supply chain disruption that didn't come. Homework for you guys. Next time you go to Walmart, especially if you're in a major metropolitan city, next time you go to Target, make sure y'all hit that like button too. Next time you go to Walmart, next time you go to Target, drive around to the side of Walmart or the side of Target, or drive around all the way to the back. All right, somewhere on the side or somewhere in the back where the docks are, you'll see shipping containers. This isn't normal. Why are those shipping containers there? Because that's the overabundance of freight that was ordered in 2021 and 2020 that they don't have room for in the back room. If you go to a Walmart, if you go to a Target and you see 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shipping containers in the back, it's freight in there. This is where they're storing freight. The containers, it's full of merchandise, right? And here in my market, Target, all right, Walmart, they all have shipping containers. Just do me that favor. Next time you go to Walmart, especially if you're in a major city, next time you go to Target, just drive around to the back. That's not normal. When I graduated from college, the first company that gave me an opportunity was Target. I actually was a manager of a Target. They hired me on as a manager of a Target, and they gave me a target to open. All right. So we had shipping containers at that target because we were a new target, and we were expected. We had projected a lot of sales being new, because 2003 is back when, big box retail was a big thing. It still is a big thing now, but the amount of volume that big box retail did back then is nowhere near, the volume that big box retail does now in store is nowhere near the volume that big box retail did back then. Why? Because there was no e-commerce. It was e-commerce, but not to the magnitude that it is today, right? So we had an overabundance of freight because we were a new store. We were doing $250,000 Saturdays. All right. So for the first 3 to 4 months, we had 4 or 5 shipping containers outside that had back stock in it, right? Because we were a new store. We were just selling a bunch of stuff because everybody wanted to come to the new store and shop. We're a new store in the community. So we had a lot of foot traffic. And when that foot traffic normalized, then we could stock the store with the freight that was in the back room, which is a pretty sizable back room, because Target, Walmart, we get trucks every night. We would get trucks every night. All right. So when you see these shipping containers in the back of Walmart, in the back of Target, that's an overabundance of freight, and that's not normal. All right. So there's still a lot of freight. All right. Those are the facts that still hold precedent today. Now, let me get Chrissy off my screen. Shout out to Chris from the Box Truck Couple, but you speaking too soon. You speaking too soon. All right. Let's look at first line of business. I want to show y'all something. First line of business. Before I do that, one thing she said, peak season's coming up. I seen a few other creators said, peak season coming up. Peak season starts in November. Let me dispel that myth, first of all. And this is something that I said last year. Peak season, you're in logistics. You're not in retail. Peak season starts in November for retail, not logistics. Once again, I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to Dr. Umar Johnson. I'm going to repeat it 3 times. Peak season does not start in November for logistics. Peak season does not start in November for logistics. Peak season starts in November for retail. Well, Mark, what are you talking about? Do you think the stuff magically ends up on the shelf in November? Like you snap your fingers in November and it ends up there? Obviously, it has to get there. Most of the stuff that you purchase via e-commerce, via on a store shelf, most of it is manufactured overseas. And I just told you it takes about 25 to 30 days to get over here. When it hits the port, it gets picked up by a truck. It probably gets taken more times than not, gets taken to a shipping yard, a rail yard, and it runs intermodal and it gets distributed throughout the country. When it reaches another rail yard, most times in Illinois, Chicago, in this area somewhere, because we're number 1 for intermodal freight. From there, another truck comes and picks it up and takes it to a terminal. All right. That's a process that does not start in November. Peak season and logistics starts in July. I said that last year. I'm saying it again. How was I able to call peak season last year so early? In August. Why? Because I started looking at the first mode of transportation. The freight has to come from overseas. It has to get imported. There's not going to be an increased volume of freight out of thin air. And, I say this stuff. I know Chrissy watch, like all these people, they know I'm coming. Vic, I showed y'all last night. He said, yo, I don't want nothing to do with market peak season because I know he waiting. Vic is smart. Chrissy, so the freight has to go on a journey, and it doesn't start out of thin air in November. It starts in July. You start to see shipping container volume. Container volume should start increasing somewhere in between July and August. If shipping container volume does not increase, then there's not going to be any peak season. Most of the goods that you purchase are manufactured overseas. And I explained this to people last year, but everybody went against me, and I made everybody look bad. I do my research. I don't get up here and I don't just say shit because I'm trying. Don't come to me for no coaching session on peak season. Don't come to me. You know what I'm saying? Especially right now, because forecasting peak season this year is going to be harder than forecasting peak season last year. All right? It's going to be harder because there's a lot of other variables that are in play that weren't in play last year. Last year, I could just look at the shipping container charts for July and August and say, no, it's not going to be a peak season. You know, all of them over there, what you mean? People ain't going to buy their kids toys, man. I ain't trying to hear that. Whatever. All right, we'll wait and see. All right, so let's look at something real quick. Let me blow this up. All right, so here's an article that came out July 25th of 2023. July. Remember what I said? Peak season for logistics. It may not be your mode of transportation as a box trucker. All right? Not as a box trucker, but the shipping, the ocean freight, they start seeing their increase in July and August. So logistics as a whole, peak season starts in July, August. All right. All right. So July 25th. All right. Wall Street Journal put this article out. Peak shipping season is fizzling out for freight companies. Forwarding heavyweight Kuehne & Nagel is trimming costs with no peak season to be expected in 23. Now, let me give you a rundown on who Kuehne & Nagel is. Kuehne & Nagel is the largest freight forwarder in the world. Not in the country, not in Switzerland, not in Canada, not in Germany, not in Mexico, the world. They're the largest freight forwarding company in the world. Now, let's read what they have to say. Freight operators are bracing for a weak peak shipping season this fall as they hold down costs during the period when companies usually start rushing goods through supply chain ahead of holiday and the second half of the year. Now, this first sentence went over a lot of people's heads, I know. But I'm going to read it again. Freight operators are bracing for a weak peak shipping season this fall as they hold down cost. Remember that. Hold down cost during the period when companies usually start rushing goods through supply chains ahead of the holiday seasons in the second half of the year. There's no peak season to be expected in 2023, said Stefan Paul, chief executive of Switzerland-based Kuehne & Nagel International, the world's largest freight forwarder by revenue. All right, let's stop right there. No, let me read this last paragraph. There are no signals neither on air or sea, or at least not for the time being. So we have to be very cautious on that, Paul said in the earnings conference call on Tuesday. Now, let's stop right there. Kuehne & Nagel, largest freight forwarder in the world. The CEO in July. There's no peak season to be expected in 2023. All right. There are no signals neither by air or sea. Now let's talk about that. You got the largest freight forwarder in the world, and you have their CEO saying this. What do they have that I don't have, that you don't have, that none of these content creators have, nobody else? What do they have? They're the largest freight forwarder in the world. So guess what? They deal with everybody. What do they have that we don't have? They have the data. They have the relationships. They have the data that we don't have access to. Now, this is the CEO of the largest freight forwarder in the world, who's smarter than me and you and everybody else in this industry. That's why he makes millions of dollars being the CEO of the largest freight forwarder in the world. They have the data. They can analyze and forecast things and see things, and they're privy to information that we are not privy to. All right? Do I think he's going to go to a media outlet like the Wall Street Journal in his position as the CEO of the largest freight forwarder in the world and make such a bold statement? I don't think so. Now, that's not to say that there might not be some increase in volume. And this is why I'm still on the fence. But still, I want to tell Chrissy, don't jump the gun, because you don't want to be left looking, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to be left. You got to do your research. We're going to look at some charts too. The charts for August came out today. All right. So we're going to look at some charts too. I'm not betting against this guy right now. I'm not betting against him. Not right now. All right. Not right now. There's too many variables in play. I'm not betting against the CEO of the largest freight forwarder in the world. Not right now. All right. Let's look at another thing. Let's look at one more. Let's look at another article. All right. All right. Now, here's an article from Freight Waves. Now, pay attention. This article was written in July. Remember when I said peak season starts? It starts in July. It starts in August. Well, it starts in July. That's when you start to see an increase in volume. Between July and August, it starts in July. Peak season for logistics starts in July, guys. Now, listen to this. I seen 5 stars say peak season or not, Amazon will see an increase in freight at the end of November and December. You say that. And I'm going to remember you said that, because a lot of people said that last year too. And there was a lot of people that were Amazon only, that were content creators, that were making the sad walk of shame videos last year, saying that they were turning their box truck in, rates are trash, Amazon is trash. So I would hold off on saying that. Why would I hold off on saying that? Because Amazon still has an overabundance of freight as well. Last year they had an overabundance of freight, which is the reason why they did an additional Prime Day in October. I think it was October 11th and October 12th, or October 12th, October 13th, because they wanted to relieve some of that overabundance of freight that they had prior to going into the peak season. And they also wanted to use that additional those Prime Days, to kind of give themselves some type of idea of what a possible peak season would look like a month from then. It was an experiment to kind of see. People bought because they were able to sell, but they didn't do what the prime season in July had done. It wasn't a failure, but it wasn't good. Now let's look at this. The peak of peak season is here. Now, reading the title may sound like a good thing. Remember, this is written in July. For the past few months, we have been warning the U.S. containerized import volumes were not only likely to experience a weak peak season, but are also positioned to reach a new bottom in the back half of the year, forecasting a 10 to 20% decline below second half 2019 levels. Fast forward to today, and the projected weak peak season has not only arrived, but appeared to already be peaking. The projected weak peak season has arrived. And not only arrived, but appeared to already be peaking. It may be all downhill from here. Now, this was in July. All right. This year's peak season appears to be following the same trend when looking at the next 7 days, white shaded area, chart above are departing container volumes. If these volumes depart over the next weeks as expected, they are likely to mark the peak of peak season and begin rolling over into a steady downtrend for U.S. bound container volumes below second half of 2019. All right, let me remove this and pull myself up. Then I want to get into the charts that came out today, because there was an increase in August. But let's talk about this. All right. When you look at charts, for those that look at charts, try to read the charts or whatever, you're going to always notice that when you read trucking media outlets, you're going to always see the comparison between now and 2019. You never see the comparison between now and last year, or now in 2021, or now in 2022. You either see 2023 comparison parallel to 2019, or you see the verbiage they use, 2023 in comparison to pre-pandemic. Why is that? For the same reason I always say, stop living like it's the pandemic. Because even the media outlets who analyze and study this stuff, they don't even count 2020, 2021, and 2022. They don't count it. Why? Because it was a fantasy. It was real, but it was a fantasy, like I always tell you. They don't even consider that. They don't even use that as LY to compare against. You can't use those numbers. What do we know about 2019? There's a lot of people that follow the channel that weren't in business in 2019. I'm going to tell you something about 2019. That was the last freight recession we had prior to the one that we're in now. The peak season of 2019 was not like the peak season of 2018, peak season of 2017, peak season of 2016, peak season of 2015, peak season of 2010, 05, 2000, 95, 90. So even comparing and paralleling this year's projected peak season to 2019 does not mean there's going to be a potential peak season, because 2019's peak season was dry. It wasn't like last year, but it was dry in comparison to years prior. A lot of trucking companies went out of business, and this was 2019. This is prior to the pandemic. New England Motor Freight went out of business, and a plethora of other ones. New England Motor Freight always stands out to me because this was one of the companies that I would see every day delivering freight to my warehouse. And New England Motor Freight was a big company. All right. So let's look at charts. Let's look at charts. Which chart I want to pull up first? Let's pull this one up. Give me 1 second, y'all. I had it up. Let me pull this one up. I thought I had it saved. Let me look for it in my. You know what? Hold on. Here it is. Come on. All right, it's not gonna let me pull it up over there. All right, let me pull it up here. Oh, I know why it's not letting me do it. I gotta lower that, pull that over there. All right, bet. Then blow it up. All right, now we go. All right, let me pull this chart up. Let's share my screen. We don't want to show that. What we want to see is that. All right, boom. Let me get myself out the way. All right. U.S. container import volume. All right. TEUs. All right. 20-foot equivalent units. That's what TEUs mean. So 1 TEU is equal to 1 20-foot equivalent unit. If it's a 40-foot shipping container, that would be 2 EUs, 2 TEUs, so on and so forth. All right, so remember that. A TEU is a 20-foot equivalent unit. All right, 20-foot shipping container. All right, so let's look at this chart. 2019 is in blue. 2023 is here. All right, 2023 is comparable to 2019. If you look at the chart, it kind of parallels it. It kind of mirrors it. All right, from let's say May, going into June, and then up in July, and then right here going from July and August, it's starting to take a dip. All right. Now there's more shipping containers coming in than 2019, but we want to look at the similarities. We're not looking at the volume. We're looking at the similarities. All right. Remember what I told you? There was a freight recession in 2019. All right. There was a lot less freight. It's 2023. It's years later. People have more money, even though people aren't buying. So freight is going to be a little bit higher. All right. Let's look at another chart. All right. So you see similar parallels, right? Let's look at another chart. I got one more chart I want to show you guys. Let me pull that one up here. Let me pull that one up. All right, so that was the TEU chart. That was the TEU chart. Where is it at? All right, here we go. All right, let me share my screen. All right. So 2023 imports versus pre-pandemic volumes. All right. This is the global port tracker. All right. So 2023 is going to be in red. All right. 2019 is going to be in green. All right. So 2023 is going to be in red. Similarities to 2019, sort of, kind of. More import forecasted. But right here, it looks like we're right about the same. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor on the screen. Oh yeah, you can. Can you see my cursor? Hold on, let's see. Right about the same. Now, here's the thing. People may be looking at these charts and like, man, Mark, I see the red line above the green line. So that means it's more freight. That means it's going to be a peak season. Not necessarily. And I'm not saying that there is going to be one. And I'm not saying that there isn't going to be one. And right now, I'm not even saying it's going to be comparable to last year. And here's why. There's a lot of variables that are going to make it harder to forecast peak season last year, other than me looking at import shipping containers between July and August. All right. How much of this rate gain that we seen in August, those two charts that I showed you were rate gain for August. So there was a slight little rate gain. But how much of this rate gain was due to peak season demand, right? How much was it due to peak season demand, and how much, and what the analysts are trying to also figure out, how much of it was due to intentional constraining of capacity, all right? There's situations, there's things that are going on at the ports. The ports have been constraining capacity for the longest. So it's kind of hard to determine if that slight uptick in August was due to seasonal demand from orders placed by retailers, or due to the shipping companies, right, constraining capacity. Now, if I were a betting man, which I am, and I had to place a bet right now at this moment, right? Right now at this moment, I really want to wait for more data, right? I really want to wait for more data. But if I was a betting man right now, I'm not going to bet against the CEO of Kuhn and Nagel. I'm not going to bet against him. All right. Why am I not going to bet against him? Because like I said, he has the data. Because he has the data. The largest freight forwarder in the world. So until these companies that have the data, that have more data than even trucking media journalist companies, right? Because they're dealing with the freight, the containers, the shipping companies, so on and so forth, on a first-hand basis. I gotta lean in that direction for the time being. I'm not putting my foot down and stamping it yet. The purpose of this live was because I did members only, and I'm calculated. It's not that I wasn't going to do a public one. I just wanted someone else to jump out the window, which they did. And then I was going to come behind and bring you guys the charts, the facts, and then leave you guys to make an educated hypothesis. Right? On what you guys think. Right? One of the main purposes of this channel, if you haven't noticed already, is to get people to think. All right. I want to drive people to think. See how many people? It was 82 people in 3 minutes ago. And as soon as I hit the point, everybody left. They got the information that they wanted to hear. But that's not all the information. That's not all the information. All right. The main purpose of this channel is to get people to think. One of the main purposes of this channel is to get people to think, right? Like, this information is out there. The only thing you have to do is educate yourself on how to use the information. It's not going to happen overnight. But I'm not going to be the one to jump out the window and tell people, hey, peak season around the corner like everybody else is starting to do. Make sure y'all sign up for these coaching sessions, because what's going to happen is, like what happened last year, peak season is going to come and everybody's going to wait. And then everybody was pushing peak season back. All these people think peak season started in November. Peak season started November 1st. When November 1st came, they were saying peak season started November 15th because there wasn't no signs of peak season. And then when November 15th came, people said Black Friday right around the corner. Peak season started Black Friday. Then Black Friday came, and then peak season started December 1st. Then December 1st came, and then they said peak season started December 15th. And then December 15th came, and then they said, you know what, peak season started Christmas Eve. They kept pushing peak season back because it never came. I'm not going to be the person to jump out the window and tell people to book coaching sessions and stuff like that, because I don't know. Me personally, the variables, there's too many variables this year. But I'm going to ride with Kuhn and Nagel, because I know what's going on with the ports. All right. I know that capacity has been constrained. There's an abundance of capacity. The box truck industry, to me, to a lot of these people. So, those are all the facts. You guys go make an educated guess on what you guys think, but don't make an educated guess. Do the research. Let's look at the poll. We got 74 votes so far. 39% says yes, most definitely. 39% says no, will be a repeat of last year. 22% said I'm waiting on Mark to tell me. So it's kind of damn near a toss-up. I think the 39% of people that's saying yes are just saying yes because, and here's the thing, and it's something that I said the other day. To everybody that came into trucking during the peak season, don't compare anything that's going on right now or going forward to the peak season. I swear to God on everything I love, if you continue to compare current going forward to the peak season, eventually you're going to fail. You can't use the pandemic. I said peak season. I meant to say pandemic. None of the pandemic numbers is LY or comparisons or parallels. You can't. This is why media outlets and analysts don't use it. They use 2019. 2019 is going to be replaced 2022 as LY. You can't use those numbers. A lot of people are naive and getting caught in the trip bag because they're continuing to wish upon a star from things that happened during the pandemic. And I'm here to tell you, somebody that's been in this space since 2010, if you continue to do that, you're gonna lose. This is the real world. This is the real trucking industry. Trucking is boom and bust. Peak season of the 90s and the 2000s is we're never going to see peak seasons like that no more. Never. So much has changed in the world. So much has evolved. Technology has evolved. The way people buy and shop has evolved. People don't wait. People ain't busting the door down at Walmart. Wasn't nobody busting no doors down last year. Everybody got a flat screen TV now. That time period is over with. When people was breaking the door down, camping out, 0 degree, to get a 55-inch TV for $298, them days over with. Will there be an increase in peak in freight as far as final mile? Yeah, because there will be people, and when we say that, and when I say, I should say, because I was the only one who said it last year, don't forget. When I say, like last year, there was going to be no peak season, I'm not saying that this year. There's still a lot of variables in place, right? But when I said there wasn't going to be any peak season last year, I also said, final mile, you're going to see this stuff go from fulfillment center to the store. That you're going to see an increase there because the freight was already where it needed to be. Buying was down, but some people are still going to shop. So final mile is definitely going to see. I did play-by-play all last year during peak season. I showed Roadie app orders for Fanatics. For those that don't know what Fanatics is, it's something that the owner of the Philadelphia 76ers started. I think Meek Mills has a stake in it, Shaquille O'Neal, a few other people. Michael Rubin. Fanatics has a fulfillment center here in Chicago. They were doing $500 routes, 15 stops within a 15-mile radius for $500 to deliver T-shirts. Less than 2 pounds, 2 ounces. $500. I showed the screenshots. So the gig apps, the final mile routes did see an increase, but that stuff was coming straight from fulfillment to consumer. Freight was already where it needed to be. The middle mile truckers that were expecting a peak season last year, when I was talking and said there wasn't going to be a peak season, I said it. I'm directing this to you guys because the freight that you would need to move where you would see your increase in freight, because see, here's the thing. This is where they got caught in the trick bag last year. They were running during the pandemic in 21 and 22, and they saw that freight moving in November. They saw that freight moving in December. But let me tell you something from a person who's been in this space since 2010. The middle mile sees your peak season start in September, end of September through October, through the beginning part of November. Bart, what are you talking about? Peak season starts in November for the people who came late. No, it doesn't. It starts in July. Your field, box trucking, you see your increase in freight that you guys have never seen a normal peak season. See, that's the issue. The people who came in 2021, 2022, you just saw an overabundance of freight all the way through. That freight was not peak season freight. That was PPP freight with a mix of peak season freight. You take that money out the equation, you wouldn't have seen that type of volume in November and December. That is not when you see peak season. You're a box trucker. You're running middle mile. You think the shit you're running peak season freight middle mile in December? How? People are ordering stuff for next day delivery. So the stuff needs to be where it needs to be already by that time so a final mile carrier can deliver it to the consumer's doorstep. You see your increase in peak in September October, going into November, because you're running at the middle mile to the fulfillment centers and to the warehouses. Like, come on, let's use common sense here. That's just like saying, well, the import peak season starts in November. How? If it takes 25 to 30 days for the stuff to get over here from China, Indonesia, so on and so forth, to get here, it doesn't make sense, right? In order for it to hit an intermodal, a rail car to hit a truck, it's got to come by sea. In order to get on the shelf, it's got to come by truck. In order for it to be on the shelf for Black Friday, which it means it needs to be in transition prior to Black Friday. You have same day, next day delivery, guys. Let's use our common sense. Amazon changed how we look at delivery today. I remember 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when you order something online, because e-commerce wasn't where it is today, you order something online, the earliest you would get it would be sometime between 5 and 7 days. 2-day didn't exist. UPS had a 3-day, but you were going to pay a premium for it. But when you're dealing with e-commerce where they have relationships with shippers and then they're shipping it to you, next day, same day didn't exist for e-commerce. Amazon changed the landscape about 6 years ago when they started the 2-day delivery. Then shortly after that, they pushed it to next day delivery. Then shortly after that, they started experimenting and flirting with same day delivery. Then after they accomplished that, they opened up to even more same day deliveries. I can order something right now and it'll be here at 4 a.m. Be overnight. They got overnight delivery. And from what I hear, they're working on 1 hour delivery. So in order to turn that stuff around, right, that fast, fulfillment needs to already be in place. So the middle mile box trucker, I'm telling you guys, prior to pandemic, because I know a lot of you guys are pandemic spawns, pandemic startups. The way it works is you would see your peak season for your lane beginning in September, going into October, going into November. And I gave you the reason why. Get the pandemic out of your mind. None of that was real. It was real, but that's not the way things work. It's unfortunate that none of y'all have seen a real peak season, but I'm telling you what it is, just like I told y'all last year. Five Star said December and November. That's final mile. We're not talking about final mile. We're not talking about final mile. We're talking about the middle mile. Jordan says, gotta think about inflation affecting gas, groceries, rent, mortgage, student loan, repayments. Consumers have less money. That's a good point, and that's one of the variables, but I don't want to go into those variables right now. I want to stick with the core stuff, right? I want to stick with the core stuff as far as the imports, right? The imports, the constraint on capacity, right? I want people to adhere to what the CEO of Kuhn and Nagel says, because that's the largest freight forwarder in the world. So they have something, like I said earlier, for the people who came in late, that we don't have is data. I'm not going to bet against that person, at least not right now, right? We have to look at these things, and then you can add that stuff in, all right? You can add that stuff in. People are going to spend money, right? But they're going to spend less money. And when you spend less money, that's less volume. And then also another fact is a lot of freight is still here. So retailers are ordering less. Retailers are flirting with ordering a little bit more to test the water, but they're not going to go overabundant that they would have done prior to the pandemic for the reasons that I stated. They still have overflow. So they're going to test the water in a minute way because they still have uncertainty if people are going to actually come in and spend the money. They're only going to spend money on if they think they can move the stuff. Now, a lot of people want to talk about Amazon. All right. Amazon is the same thing. All right. Let's talk about Amazon real quick. Amazon, you have sellers and you got buyers. All right. I've looked at being an Amazon seller some years ago. There's a lot of things that I didn't want to go through to become an Amazon seller, right? There's easier ways to me to make money. The reason I looked at it is because I had a warehouse, right? You got sellers, right? You got buyers. You got Amazon sellers, you got buyers. A lot of the stuff that you buy on Amazon is manufactured where? It's manufactured overseas. A lot of that stuff is off-brand stuff from China. Your cell phone cases, I ordered something for someone yesterday for a housewarming. I said, "What do you want?" She sent me a basket and a towel rack from Amazon. Okay. It's Chinese stuff. It's coming from China. China. Is that what Trump said? China. It's coming from China. The point that I'm trying to make is most of the stuff that you order from Amazon is imported. So the same thing applies to Amazon that applies to the middle mile. And they still have an overabundance of freight. All those fulfillment centers that they constructed, that they halted construction on, are still at vacant. There's a couple here in Chicago. There's one on, what is that? Keeler and whatever. It's a few of them here that's just vacant. It's another one right on 21st and Damon. They built it and it ain't nothing. Just vacant. Nothing. And then some of them they're using for overflow. So the same things apply. That's why you had a bunch of people last year in Amazon. Like the videos are still on YouTube. Go look at them. It's trash. Amazon sucks. This, that, and the third. But you was just speaking so highly of it 8 months ago when you were telling it was the best thing in the world. Same situation applies. If the freight is where it needs to be, the uptick that you're going to see is like where you saw the uptick last year. The uptick was in the final mile. It's September. Now let's talk about present time. Rail yards are dry. This is what we know. Rail yards are dry. Rates are low. Volume is low. And we're current. This is September 11th. There was a slight uptick in imports last month. We just looked at July forecast in the form of those two media outlet articles, and one of them was the CEO of Kuhn & Nagel, largest freight forwarder in the world, who verbatim said, no peak season, 2023. I'm not riding with him 100% yet. Not yet. But fast forward 2 months later, where prior to a pandemic, you would already see signs in the middle mile of increased freight. We have low volume right now. These are the facts. These are the facts. I'm not sitting up here telling you to get a strategy session. I'm not going to send myself off like, you're not going to come to me in November, man, I booked the coach and say what you, ain't no damn peak season. So I'm giving fair warning to Chrissy and everybody else. Slow your roll, because I'm coming. I'm going to be like Axel. How Axel be messing with people, I'm going to be like that for peak season. Vic is smart. He gonna fall back. I don't blame him. Because even with me knowing how to read the charts, studying this stuff, because I know that's how a big part of my reputation on YouTube was built last year, I gotta be sharp at it. Because people looking for me to be wrong, but I'm smart enough to know that. So I'm not going to jump out the window, because I'm not going to set myself up for failure. If anybody watches me, you know I'm calculated. I'm not going to set myself up for failure. I'd rather just sit it out. But right now it's a toss-up. It's a very minute increase, very minute. But I will say that to say this, even with that minute increase, there's still a lot of capacity. Mark, what is capacity? Capacity is space. Space on anything that can move freight. Why is there more capacity? Because there's still an overabundance of people that entered into the space during the pandemic that haven't exited yet. Which goes back to the live stream that I did Friday night, where I said an exodus is coming. And I'm going to do a part 2 to that, because it's coming. It's coming. So with the small increase in imports in August, but still an overabundance of capacity, and you got shipping lines purposely constraining capacity, it's kind of hard to determine. But I'm leaning one way, because I'm betting on the data. I'm betting on the CEO because he has more data, and I'm looking at the capacity. So even with that increase, let's say with the capacity, you just got a bunch of people fighting over a little bit of volume increase. You got a bunch of capacity, a bunch of people with empty trucks that are going to be fighting over that little bitty volume increase. So what does that do? We're smart. I got smart subscribers. If you got an overabundance of capacity still, you got a small increase in volume, you're going to have people competing for that small increase in volume, because it's so much capacity. What is that going to do, guys? Which is going to ultimately bring the exodus that I'm talking about. It's going to drive down rates. So Paul Smith said, a lot of us are new to the business. We don't have those charts. Paul, just listen. You told us last year, so why don't you tell us this year? I just told you. You're not listening, Paul. I just told you. I just gave you the facts. I just gave you the facts. I just gave you the facts. What do you want? I showed the charts. I displayed the charts. I read the charts for you. I gave you information from the CEO of the largest freight forwarder. I gave you my experience of being in this industry prior to the pandemic, way prior to the pandemic. We talked about current. I gave you the window of when you see an increase. I broke down the modes of transportation all the way up until it gets to the shelf of the fulfillment center. I told you when certain modes of transportation should see their increase in volume. My thing is, as a business person, why do people wait on 1 month? Because that's all it really is. It's like a month and a half. Each mode sees increase for about a month and a half. The ocean shipping companies see their peak in July and August. The rail starts seeing their peak in September, October. The middle mile truckers start seeing their peak somewhere between the middle of September and the end of September. That's when it starts going into November. By October, middle mile should be up and peaking. When October came last year and people was talking about peak season, but it was dead in October, I told people then, listen, if it's dead now, you're not going to see an increase in November. I said, the stuff has to get to the facility. But it's like, people just, think things, you snap a finger and it just appears. It just appears there. I don't know. I don't know. So, it is what it is, man. So I just told you. Right now, it's kind of on the fence. I'm leaning more towards a repeat of last year. Right now, I'm not stamping it yet. Not yet. But I'm leaning more in that direction. It's just a lot of capacity. So, let me do one more compare and contrast for you. Because what I'm trying to get you guys to do, Paul, and I want you to do this too. I'm not going to just, and I do it, but I'm trying to drive you to think, because Mark ain't going to always be here. Mark ain't going to always be there. It's going to be times in your business where you're going to be faced with a challenge that's going to be hand on. And you might try to dump in the DM and I might see a notification, but that don't mean I'm going to answer it right then and there. The point that I'm trying to make is I'm giving people, I'm giving you enough tools to start formulating things and learn how to do this stuff on your own. I'm showing you how to fish. Last year, I gave people the fish and they threw it back at me. And when you fish and then you get the fish, then you throw it back. That's how people treated me last year. This year, so I gave it to you last year. This year, I'm educating you on what to do so that you can do it for yourself. I'm showing you what to look at. I'm showing you what to compare and contrast. I'm showing you what to parallel. I'm trying to unlearn you. From the pandemic. Lately, what I've been trying to do is just unlearn everybody that entered into this space during the pandemic, to unlearn you from that time period. And it's unfortunate that y'all came in during that time period, because that's just not how trucking is. None of that stuff was real. That's why what's the word I want to use? What's the word I want to use? It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm just going to say worthy, but that's not the word I want to use. I want to use a bigger, fancier word. But let's say no worthy media outlet, no worthy analyst is using these numbers and comparing this year with 2022, 2021, or 2020. You're going to always see in comparison to 2019, or you're going to see 2023 in comparison to pre-pandemic. And I'm telling you now that 2019 was a freight recession. So even with a slight uptick and some parallels in 2019, the variables that are in play now are a lot steeper than the variables that were in play then that was causing the freight recession then, because we're dealing with inflation now. We're dealing with a lot more variables. A lot more variables. People do not have the money. Repossessions are up now. Student loans, like he said, are up. They're coming back, so people got to start back paying on them. That freeze is over with. Credit card debt is through the roof. You got a lot of people living beyond their means. You got baby boomers covering the cost of living. Baby boomers and Generation X covering the cost of living for their Generation Z kids and their late millennials, because they want to go to fancy dinners so they can take the picture and put it on their Instagram, and they want to live, work, and play in the same community, and they want to live in one-bedroom apartments downtown Chicago and pay $4,000 or $5,000 a month rent and split the rent with 3 other people because they can't afford to pay for it on their own. But they want to live, work, and play in the same area even though they can't afford to live in those areas. Parents are covering the cost of a lot of these Generation Zs. I know firsthand. Owning a moving company, being on the truck, having to get back on the truck from 2020, 2021, 2022. Damn near every other Generation Z person that I came across, either mama or daddy was there paying the bill. And if I had a conversation with them, they said they was paying the rent too. This is the inside data that I have. Just like how the CEO has Kuhn and Nagel, by them being the largest freight forwarder in the world, the data that they have from having relationships and dealing with all the shipping companies, and everybody probably known the man that's in logistics because they're the largest freight forwarder in the world by revenue. They got the data on a first-hand basis. So there's a lot of other variables that I didn't even talk about. I wanted to deal with the main core facts. Andrew Green said, Mark, even before the pandemic, the rates were better. The rates were slightly better, but there was still a freight recession. But 2019 time period is not 2023 time freight recession. The freight recession of 2019, the freight recession of 2023, I should say, is there's a different reason that's driving this freight recession in contrast to the freight recession of 2019. I'm sorry, I got my words minced. And there's a lot of variables in play. All right. So in 2019, there was still money. People still had money. There was still a lot of money floating around. 2020, 2021, 2022, a lot of people's lifestyles, a lot of people's lifestyle shifted. There's a lot of people living above and beyond their means. There was a lot of debt that was incurred during the pandemic. A lot of people bought things that they really couldn't afford, and a lot of finance companies approved a lot of things for people that really they couldn't afford, and that they wouldn't have been approved for if it wasn't the pandemic. They were using stimulus as income, and they were completely wrong for that, which is also driving a lot of the repossessions and things that you're seeing today. Like, I can sit up here and talk about stuff all night, but I want you guys to take this live stream and take this information and do your research and formulate an opinion. And then when we come back for episode 2 of the peak season forecast, I'm curious to see what some of your opinions may be. The variables and the information when I do the second one may be different. We may see different signs that force the trajectory one way or another a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? By then, because I don't know when I'm going to do it, right? Because I have to wait for signal signs and things of that nature. I'm not going to jump out the window like I did in August of last year because there's other variables that are in play right now. I got an idea, and I think you guys know the kind of idea which way I'm going, but I'm not 100% yet. So I'm not going to, put myself in the trick bag like some of these other people do. I ain't going to do that to you. I ain't going to do that to myself. But I'll take a few questions. Mike G says, bring on the Exodus. And the unfortunate thing, Mike G, is we need the Exodus. Trucking needs the Exodus. We need to lower the capacity. Need to lower the capacity. And Paul, it's not, I'm not, the way I present my content, it may seem a little bit aggressive, but it's from a good place because I ultimately really want people to learn. I want you to learn. The way I present my content is for you to learn. I'm giving you I'm showing you how to do it. I'm not going to just give it to you because that's going to hinder you. I'm showing you how to do it. It's like a mathematical equation. You know what I'm saying? I'm showing you, okay, here's the formula, here's the problem, here's the formula, here's the answer, but I'm showing you my work. Because I'm showing you how I took this problem and got to this answer. So I'm talking about peak season, but I'm showing you the facts on how we're formulating this opinion. So that when you come next year, because I may not be here next year, I don't know. You can say, man, what did Mark say? Okay, I need to go look at this. I need to go look in July and August. I need to look at imports. Because retailers, when do you guys think retailers start placing their orders for peak season? Q1 and Q2. You think they place orders in July? No, they're placing these orders Q1 and Q2. As soon as the holiday season is over with, they're placing orders for next holiday season. If Teddy Ruxpin came out in 87, those orders was being placed in 86. If Light Bright came out in 85, those orders was being placed in 84. Or early 85. When Nintendo came out in 85, them orders was placed in late 84, early 85. You think they sold millions of Nintendos or however many it was back then? The NES, I had the Nintendo with the power pad. I don't know. Some of y'all probably too young, but my OG, we was poor, but she got me a Nintendo. I had the power pad. All right. I had the power pad and I had the gun because I played Duck Hunt. But I had the power pad. See, some of y'all don't know about the power pad. But getting back to what I'm saying is when retailers order freight for the holiday season, they order it damn near a year prior. Because guess what? I'm Walmart. And I'm Paul, this is, just more education. I'm Walmart. All right, we're going to these seminars, we're going to these conferences, we're looking at different things. What's going to be the next trend next year? They have to forecast trends. Why? Because they have to know what's going to be popular the next holiday season. Why? Because the items have to be manufactured. I'm Walmart. I got to order for how many Walmarts across the country? Brick and mortar Walmarts plus Walmart.com e-commerce. You're talking about millions of units. So guess what? We're ordering, I'm ordering I'm a buyer for Walmart. All right, so we want to order 1 million units of this pen. No, 20 million units of this pen. So guess what? We're the manufacturer of this pens. All right, Walmart just got a holiday order. It's January. It's January 2023. Walmart just ordered 50 million units of this pen for holiday 2023. 11 months, 12 months away. So they put this order in for 50 million units. So now what happens? We got to start manufacturing and producing 50 million units. So that order gets put in. Now we got however many, depending on when they order, February, March, April. We got to produce all these units, and we got a deadline to have these units produced by May. We got a 3-month turnaround. We got to produce 50 million units just for Walmart. We might get another 30 million unit order for Target. So now we got to produce them. That takes months. Boom. Now we got to start transitioning this stuff from our manufacturing plants to the ports in China. So that means trucks over there are coming to the manufacturers, picking up the freight and transitioning it from the manufacturing plants to the ports. I don't know what the ports are like over there, but if it's anything like over here, it may take some days at the port. Stuff goes on a vessel. It begins its voyage from China to the good old United States of America, 25, 30 days. All right. All of this is time. It's not overnight. There's a process. I know the process. That's why I'm teaching you the process. A lot of y'all just know pandemic. And man, Mark, peak season 2021, man, it was freight everywhere. That's peak season, November. No, it's not. No, it's not. Not for you. You're a middle mile trucker. You're not a final mile guy. So, Paul, I hope you're learning something here, but I hear you, but just pay attention. Have my loads every week on inventory loads to Amazon hubs. Good relationship with the brokers, yeah, but some places had will call. I think I read that. I think about inflation. I read that. What else did I read? Shout out to Jay the Great. Shout out to Jay the Great. It's still cats going out of business. It's definitely cats going out of business. I had 2 subscribers go out of business last week. As he walks out, I like to think they know what the F they're talking about. I'm assuming he's talking about Kuhn and Nagel. Devon Jack says you on point. MD says exactly. Devon Jack said fact mark. I think I read 5-star. Does peak season, this is a good question. Does peak season vary by area or region? It can. So there were some places last year, let's talk about Amazon, for instance, that did see a peak season. I saw one content creator, I'm not going to name no names, that was pushing peak season, but he was pushing and showing rates up in Buffalo, New York. Why were those rates high in Buffalo, New York? See, I'm not stupid. I go do the knowledge. It was rates that were high in Buffalo, New York that were during that time period because they had a goddamn snowstorm. They had like 20 inches of snow. That's why the rates were high. It had nothing to do with peak season. They had 20-some inches of snow. Wasn't nobody carrying on freight because then nobody want to get stuck in nothing. That's why the rates were increased. If you look at places like Minneapolis, it's the weather in those places. It didn't have anything to do with anything else. It was the weather. So, that was some deception that I saw that happened last year with one particular creator, but that's not even on YouTube. It's an Instagram person, but yeah, but other than that, you can see increased volume. Volume rates are a little bit better in the Midwest, period. So you may catch a little love in the Midwest, especially in the wintertime, because a lot of truckers don't like to come up here because it's cold and it's snowy and You know, a lot of southern and southeastern truckers, they don't like coming up north. They don't like coming up north. They don't like coming up north. So outside of, you know, the Midwest being, you know, just the freight mecca, right? Another thing that plays a part in the wintertime is just the weather element, you know. So just something to think about as well. You said you speak the truth. I have these convos with my kids, majoring in business management and minoring in data analysis. Yeah, you know, I was a business major. I was a business major. Everybody knows. So yeah, so a lot of information I have is just coupled with my education and just my experience. You know, I'm not, you know, I just want people to think. I don't want people to make, you know, ill-advised decisions. I don't want people to be banking on one thing, you know, and I don't want people to be, you know, misinformed or misled. So I'm going to always challenge people when they don't do the research. I don't want people out there trying to sell people on things because I don't want them to get caught in the trick bag if it don't go that way. I want everybody to win, you, the content creators. I just want people to do a little bit more research. I want people to do a little bit more research and continue to research. The reason why I'm not stamping it yet is because it's some variables that you know, kind of wavery. The CEO of Kuehne+Nagel, he's the CEO of Kuehne+Nagel. I don't have that data that he has to say, yo, it ain't going to be no peak season. But I also know that he's human, and humans can make mistakes. More likely, he's right, but there's still some other variables that I'm looking at that I just want to give myself another 2 weeks, maybe 2 to 3 more weeks. So, you know what I'm saying? So that's it. I got that video dropping tomorrow with Big Vic, me and Kirk, which is going to be this video here. So it's up. It's ready to go. The conversation that a lot of people been waiting for. So for those that were on Kirk's channel last night, you guys got to witness it. But he asked me to post it, so I cut out. It's about a 2-hour thing. We covered some recent events, some serious topics, some things that I addressed on the live stream last week. We asked him some hard questions and gave him some hard answers. I appreciate him for even coming up. You know what I'm saying? I really do. But, you know, a lot of things that y'all wanted to know, y'all wanted to address, I wanted to address, we addressed. And then we talked about some other things. We talked about some cool stuff like y'all see. You know, we had some laughs and we had some jokes. But I'm going to drop that tomorrow, probably tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully y'all watch the whole thing. It is 2 hours. I was going to chop it up into 30 minutes, but it was just a lot of, I think, good takes in there that I don't want anybody to miss. So I think the whole conversation, there wasn't a dead spot in the conversation at all. There wasn't a dead spot in the conversation at all. I'm going to post it. I don't know if I'm going to leave it up. I may leave it up for a day or two and throw it into members only, but I am going to allow it to be on public initially. So make sure you get a chance to watch it. Thursday, I am going to have Rock Financial, the channel sponsor here. So if you guys need capital for your business lines of credit, equipment loans, go to the link in the description of this live stream and sign up. And then using that link, I'll be able to follow the process of your loan all the way up into the point when you're funded. For those people that signed up, because I did see a lot of people signed up, Rock Financial will be here Thursday, so you guys get to answer some questions. They'll go over all their products for you, for everybody that needs capital. I know capital is hard to find. People have been asking me about opportunities for capital since I've been on YouTube, and I finally partnered with somebody. All right, so and with them, you only have to be in business 3 months. So you just need to show 3 months of statements. So you have to be in business for 3 months, because I seen some people that signed up ain't even in business, and I ain't gonna name no names. You have to be in business at least 3 months, because you have to uh, show revenue, all right? Because in a situation like this, your future receivables is going to act as your collateral, all right? Your future receivables are going to act as your collateral, so they have to be able to forecast, and the only way they can do that is by seeing the past 3 months of your business statement. So they'll be here Thursday. We're going to resume testimonials this Wednesday, and we are going to resume, I believe, the wise men Monday. So we're about to turn up again on the channel. Peak season, it's still kind of, I ain't putting the stamp down now, but I'm leaning one way, just not stamping it yet. But we just presented the facts of what we know right now. So, just tread into it easy. Don't be sent off. Don't be sent off. All right. I like to use them when on the road. Please leave it up. Okay, well, I'll leave it up. I'll see how it performs. Because it is long. So, I'll see how it performs. It's like 1 hour and 57 minutes. I want everybody to see the full conversation. Hey, I'm new to the squad. This is the first time seeing, bro. Is this channel worth to watch? If you want to get rich off trucking, I'm on my CDL test. Okay, well, there's no. Is this if you want to get rich? All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? All right. I'll see y'all Wednesday, guys. Make sure y'all hit that link in the description if you need capital from the sponsor. Be back Wednesday. Rock Financial will be here Thursday. Wise Men on Monday. Video dropping. Yeah, I don't see. It's always a troll at the end. They wait to the end too. All right, y'all. I'm out. Peace.